All right.
Hi there, my name's Daniel from Transform Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through a 2023 Wildwood 28 Vbxlx. We're just going to start off at the back here. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for an observation camera as well as a lip-red stair system, so you can get up to your roof and check your seals with ease. If you're interested in any of those, you can just contact your parts department and they can get you a quote to get set up for that. You also have your spare tire mounted in the back here, just underneath this cover. And then just in this back corner, pulling this cap off, you notice we do have your sewer hose. Taking note of those 2 ears there. It's going to be the same 2 ears that hook up to your sewer outlet. We keep it stored away into the back bumper here, just to keep some of the smell out of the unit. You also have your cable satellite inlets, and then right below that is just your main power cord twist lock. Taking note of that little notch there. It lines up with this notch on the trailer side. You're pushing that in, just giving it an 1/8 turn to lock it into place, and then you got the threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do just have your standard 30 amp plug-in. Most campsites should have this, so you can plug right on in. But let's say your campsite doesn't have 30 amp service, you're at home with the trailer in your driveway and you want to run your fridge. We do include a 15 amp park adapter. Just keeping in mind you're going down to 15 amps of power, so you won't be able to run something like your air conditioner. Right here in this corner, as well as all 4 corners of the trailer, you do have stabilizer jacks. The way those works is you're just going to disconnect that safety chain, take the tool inside, which I'll show you inside the front compartment, run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving it another 1/8 to 1/4 turn just to firm it up, and it's just going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now. And then whenever you are bringing these jacks back up, just always making sure you lock your safety chain back into place. That way, if there ever be a failure, these won't be dragging on the road behind you. A little further up, you do have your exterior shower. We include a 751 key with the trailer. You're just going to stick that inside there, give that a twist, open that up, gives you access to your exterior shower head with hot and cold water. Locking that into place. Right below that, you do have your hot water heater service port. You're just lining that notch up. You'll be able to pull that right off. Whenever you first get to your campsite, you are just going to want to hit that pressure relief valve. There should be a shot of water that comes out of there. This unit's currently winterized, so there's no water coming out of there because the tank's empty, so it wouldn't be safe to fire up. You're always going to want to see that shot of water before you fire it up. Otherwise, your tank's empty and you run the risk of burning out your tank. When we get inside, I'm going to go over a reset procedure, and the button I'm going to refer to is just right here. And then you do just have your 1 1/8" drain bolt. Loosen that off. It is just going to drain the hot water tank. And if you were to want to fire up that water tank on electric, there is just this little button down on the left hand corner. Hit that button on, which is down, and when you hit that button inside, it is going to fire on electric instead of gas. Get that back on. You're just lining up those 2 tabs. And get that top one in and just push it into place. Unlock it. Right down below, you do have your sewer outlet. You're just taking that head, giving it a twist, and it unlocks. Taking note of those 2 ears there. Those are going to be the same 2 ears that connect to your sewer outlet. Or, sorry, those are the same 2 ears that are on your sewer hose. They just line up with those notches there. You give it a turn, an extra twist, and it locks into place. You have your gray valve and your black valve. You're always going to want to empty your black valve first. This is going to be your dirtiest water, which is filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically cleaner water, filled from your sinks and your showers. Just trying to keep that hose that little bit cleaner. A little further down the unit, you have this front storage compartment. Inside here is where we got that 20-foot water hose, as well as that 15 amp park adapter I told you about earlier. Place. Once we get to the front here, you do have your 2 20-pound propane tanks. The way those work are, you're just going to open this up, turn those valves on, and it's going to turn on the flow of propane to the unit. If you're needing to turn these off to refill them for whatever reason, this cover just pull off. Inside this black box right in front of there is just where your battery's housed. And then right on the front frame, you'll notice there's a battery disconnect switch. That battery disconnect switch on, the batteries are connected to the unit. And with the battery disconnect switch off, you're able to pull this little key out if you were to want to lock it out, and the batteries are disconnected from the unit at this point. You got your front tongue jack. One way's up, the other way's down. And then just, if you pull open this little rubber cap, there'll be a little socket end on there. We got the tool for that in the front compartment. If you ever have a jack failure and it doesn't work, or for whatever reason you don't have electricity, there is a manual way. That is the manual way to override it. So this front compartment here, just taking your 751 key to open it up. Just located on the wall here. The first one I'm pulling out here is just the tongue jack override tool, and then the other one on the wall is going to be for your stabilizer jacks. We just keep them conveniently located on the wall here. I'll put it back up later. A little further down the unit, you do have your little exterior kitchen area, kinda. You got your fridge, which does only work on shore power, so this won't run while you're traveling. And then you do just have this nice little garden hose end also on this side, which just connects right here. You're just lining up those two notches, pressing them firmly, giving it that twist to lock it into place. And then you would have water, and then to disconnect it, again, you're just pushing in and twisting, and it'll pop right out. For your little griddle, you just pull that out. You got these two hoses which are connected to each other. You're just going to disconnect the one end, run the one end down to the ground, plug this end in. You're just pulling back on that collar, pushing it into place. Pushing it into place, and that locks in. And then you just take this other end. You have your propane quick connect down here. You'll notice there is this little valve. With this valve closed, it allows you to operate this collar, push that into place. Sorry. Yeah, it allows you to push that just into place here. So that gets locked into place, and then you can just, turning that valve opens the flow of propane, and for an added safety measure, you can't disconnect this whenever the flow is open. And then you can just go to your barbecue, turn that over to light, hit the sparker, and it fires right on up. And then to turn it off, just the opposite, you're just closing that flow of propane, hitting that quick connect, it pops right off. Disconnect it from this end. I just like to connect them into each other, that way no debris gets in there. And just store it on the top here and tuck it away. Just on the bottom here, just always making sure you put that dust cover back on, that way no debris or anything gets in there. You got your fresh tank drain right here as well. So with that closed, the fresh tank is will hold water, and with this open, it'll drain all the water that's in there. Right up top here, you do notice you got this little vent with this flap open. It's allowing you to evacuate fumes with the range hood. Whenever you're traveling, you can just click this into place, and then it'll just stop all that dust from getting inside the unit whenever you're traveling. You see this little silver cover here? That is just your furnace exhaust. Whenever your furnace is running, this is going to be putting out hot air, so just be mindful of that. Right down here, tucked underneath the trailer, you got these two valves. Whenever you crack that valve, it's just going to drain all the fluid that's inside the lines. And then just your last stabilizer jack. Get inside the unit. you do just take this assist handle, fold it 90 degrees and lock it into place. And then it allows you to open up your door. You got your stairs. Take note of this little silver button here. You push that in and it will allow you to change the height of the feet to your campsite needs, so the stairs sit level. And to get them down, just pulling that safety latch. They fold it on down. You'll notice first thing right on your left is just a fire extinguisher. That's gonna be just like home. Pull the pin and shoot. Hitting this button, this one button on your monitor panel area here, it's gonna run your slide out. Whenever you're running your slide out, just always being mindful that your door isn't folded over the awning arm. So just fold that straight, hit that button out. The awning's gonna start making its way out. You're gonna know that awning's fully extended when you see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hang down. So there you go, you get that little flap hanging down, and now you see the back of the metal tube. Now you can take any arm, front or rear, if it were to ever start raining, and just pull down on it, and that's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to then run off. Now if you do like that angle better because it allows for more shade, you can do the same thing with the front arm, and it's just always making sure you push that arm back to straight whenever you bring the awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. Once you get inside, you do have a couple light switches. That one button on the right does just the little accent light above the slide out, and then this other button does the awning light on the outside, and then hitting this dimmer switch turns on the living space lights. Whenever you hold this dimmer switch, it does dim the lights from bright to dark, and at any point in time you can just let off that button and it'll hold that brightness, and then again just tapping it to turn it on and off. To get that slide out to run out, you're just holding that button down. The slide out's going to start making its way out. Once that slide out's fully extended, you can hear the whines and the clicking of the motor. That's when you know just to stop pressing the button. Always making sure whenever you're running the slide out, you know you're aware of what's on both sides of the slide out. That way you don't damage anything. Also on this panel here, you got your monitor panel. So hitting that battery button, it's just going to tell you low, fair, good, and C would be charging or plugged in. So we're currently charging. And then you got your black, your fresh, your black, and your gray, which goes empty, a third, 2/3, and full. And then you do just have your water pump switch, which draws from your fresh tank. And then you have your water heater button. Pushing that button, if you are firing that water heater on gas, this DSI fault light's going to come on. The water heater is going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the third try it doesn't light, this DSI fault light's going to stay on. So at that point, you do just have to turn this switch off, go hit that reset button, and then come turn this switch back on, and it'll try relighting itself. And then if you do notice, just right up top here, you do have your monitor, your solar controller. They charge it. This is just more of a monitor. It's just going to allow you to change between your different battery types, and it's going to tell you your amp readings, your amp hours, and the volts that you're currently at. That's pretty much all that does there. Whenever you do have this little blue light on, it's just telling you that you are currently charging. If you do take a step on inside, you just got your entertainment center. Right here we do have a TV backer, so if you were to want to buy a mount, this is where you'd want to mount it. Right below that, you do have your 2 plugins, as well as your cable satellite outlets, and then there's this little black button. Turning that little black button on does just turn that green light on, which turns the antenna on the roof. Whenever you do have this antenna on, it does also improve radio frequency, so I do just recommend leaving that on. Radio, pretty much just like home, other than the fact that you have zone 1 and zone 2. Zone 1 is going to be your interior speakers, and zone 2 is going to be your exterior speakers. And this unit, this bar is the only interior speaker. And then right below that, you do just have your fireplace, hitting that power button on the far right. Right next to that, you can change your different flame colors. The button beside that does your rocks. And then you got your heater button. So hitting that button once will turn it on to low heat. Hitting that button again will turn it on to high heat. And then you do just have a timer beside that, going anywhere from 30 minutes to about 9 hours. inside the bedroom space. If you open up that door, you turn the lights on your far right. Inside here also is a TV vacker, and you do have 2 plugs as well as a cable satellite inlet. You got plugins and USB, regular plugins and USB plugins on both sides of the bed, as well as sleep app access and some storage inside there. And if you take the foot of the bed and push it on up, it does give you access to your front storage compartment, as well as these nice little bins that they include. All the blinds in the unit do work the same way. You're pulling them down. Whenever you stop, that's where they're going to stay, and then just giving them one quick little tug will let them retract back up. And then in the bedroom here, you do have a fire exit. The way that works is you're just going to pull this red tab. The screen's going to pop out. You can take your handle, push it out, and you can hop out of the unit. We'll get into the dinette area now. This couch does turn into a bed. You're just removing these little side cushions, and you do just grab the foot of the bed, pull it out, and then it'll fold out into a bed. Then you can also just take it, fold it back in. You just do have to grab the top of the couch and kind of assist it back into place. And then you have your dinette area, which can also turn into a bed. You do just have to take the bottom legs off the table, let the tabletop sit on the edges around, take your back cushions and fill in the center. And then this is called a Versa Lounge, so there is a number of ways that you can set this up. This being one of them with the bigger dinette area, where you can turn this couch into more of a sectional. Just by lifting up on this piece here, it's going to slide out of its legs. And then you can just switch it over to this side, which you'll notice on this side, you can see this little holder. This side also has the same holders. You do just kind of have to separate the cushions to get that one foot in there. Once that foot does get in there, that allows you to then push it into place. And then you can just have that little bit of a extended seating area. Now that does turn that into a little bit of a sectional with a not as big dining area. Underneath the whole dining area here, it does just pop down, and they include these nice totes. And that is throughout into the dinette as well. In the kitchen area, you got your sink with hot and cold water. Opening up this little cover here, you will notice underneath here, you do get access to your water pump for winterization. Once you're in this area here, you do have your microwave. That's going to be standard, just like home. You do have your little overhead fan. I do recommend running that whenever you are running your stove, because your stove does run off propane and gives off some fumes. With that being said, the furnace also runs off propane and puts out a little bit of fumes. So we do have an LP detector located right near the ground here. Propane's heavier than air. If that guy ever starts going off, you are just going to want to turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit. Just open up the windows and turn on some vents just to ventilate it out a little bit. To get this stove to light, you're just turning these knobs over to the light option, hitting the sparker, and it fires right on up. And the same thing kind of goes for the oven. You're just pulling that down, turning this over to that pilot option, pushing that knob in and hitting the sparker, and the pilot lights. And then you're just turning it up to your desired temperature, and it fires right on up. Now I will say that sometimes when you do turn off the propane and leave the unit for a while, it allows air into the system. So sometimes when you go to fire it up, it doesn't happen that quick, and it can take a few minutes just to clear all the air out of the lines. So just be patient with that. You also have your Furrion fridge right next to it. The controls for that are just on your right here. If you are ever off boondocking and you want the fridge to solely run off 12 volt, you are just going to go off this off-grid option, and that's going to allow you to do so. And then These fridges do come with charcoal filters, which we also have replacements. You just have to talk to our parts department about getting them, and that just helps try to keep some of the smell down inside the refrigerator. And then on the wall here, you do have your thermostat. Hitting that button once, it's just going to illuminate itself. At any point in time, you're just pushing those arrows up and down to change the temperature. If you go over to fan low, that's just running the fan, no cooling or heating involved. It's just moving air around with the air conditioner. Same thing, but on a high fan. Now you get to cool high, so now the actual air conditioning effect takes into place. Hitting that button one more time will put you into cool low, which is just pretty much a low fan with air conditioning. And now you get into auto. Whenever that auto is on, it's going to go based off of whatever the temperature inside the unit is set to, whether that be, and it's the same thing on a high fan. So like I said, comes an on-demand system. It'll cut in and out. And then you just get into your heat option, which then will turn off your air conditioner and fire up your furnace. Whenever you do turn the furnace off, it is going to take a few minutes just for it to shut down because it has to run through a little safety process. Inside the bathroom, you do have your toilet and your sink and your shower. And then just on the wall here is your main GFI plug. So you do have test on the bottom, reset in the middle. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I would check. Whenever you are running your air conditioner, you have a couple options you can run it with. You can run it with these louvers closed, in which case you're going to be moving all your air through your ceiling ducting you see around the unit. And if you open up these louvers, it is just going to dump all its air into the living space. And your furnace does just move all its air through the floor portals you see around the unit. Inside here is just some storage space, as well as this little false panel. You got 2 screws that hold that into place. If you take those screws out, this panel will fall out and it'll give you access to your hot water heater for winterization. And just opening up this door, you can get into the bunk room. All the lights on their own center push buttons inside here, and that just goes to safe for the rest of the unit. All the lights do have their own push buttons, so you can turn them off and on individually as you please. The bunks, you can run them down or you can have them up. They are on gas struts, so they'll hold themselves up. And you have a kind of a little hangout room with a couch, which also folds into a bed if you're to have any extra guests. And then just located inside this room, it's just your breaker fuse panel. Pushing that down will pop that open. Whenever a breaker pops, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And then you have all your fuses right next to that. Whenever a fuse does blow, there's going to be a little red indicator light telling you which one's blown. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.